When you hear Thomas whistle, turn the page. Toby and the Stout Gentleman. Toby is a tram engine. He is short and sturdy, he has cowcatchers and side plates, and doesn't look like a steam engine at all. Toby's tram line runs alongside roads and through fields and villages. He takes trucks from farms and factories to the main line, and he always rings his bell cheerfully to everyone he meets. He has a coach called Henrietta, who has seen better days. Toby is attached to Henrietta and always takes her with him. She might be useful one day, he says. Henrietta used to have 9 trucks rattling along behind her, but now there are only 3 or 4, because the factories send their goods mostly by lorry. The cars, buses and lorries often have accidents. Toby is always careful. He hasn't had an accident for years. But the buses are crowded and Henrietta is empty. I can't understand it, says Toby sadly. People come to see Toby, but they always laugh and stare. Isn't he quaint and old-fashioned, they say. They make Toby so cross. One day, a lady and a stout gentleman with a little girl and boy stood nearby. The gentleman looked important, but nice. He was, of course, the fat controller, but Toby didn't know this yet. "Come on, grandfather," called the children. "Do look at this engine." "That's a tram engine, Stephen," said the stout gentleman. "Is it electric?" asked Bridget. "Whoosh!" hissed Toby crossly. "Shh, shh," said her brother. "You've offended him." "But trams are electric, aren't they?" asked Bridget. "They are mostly," said the stout gentleman, "but this is a steam tram." "May we go in it, grandfather?" asked the children. The guard had begun to blow his whistle. "Stop!" shouted the stout gentleman. He raised his arm and they all scrambled into Henrietta. "Hip, hip, hooray!" chanted Henrietta as she rattled along behind Toby. But Toby did not sing. "Electric indeed," he snorted. He was very hurt. The stout gentleman and his family climbed out at the next station. "What's your name?" he asked. "Toby, sir," said the tram engine. "Thank you, Toby, for a very nice ride," said the stout gentleman. "Thank you, sir," said Toby politely. He felt much better now. This gentleman, he thought, is a gentleman who knows how to speak to engines. The children came every day for a fortnight to see Toby and Henrietta. Sometimes they rode with the guard, and sometimes in the empty trucks. On the last day of their holiday, the driver invited them into his cab. Everyone was very sorry when the stout gentleman and his family had to go away. "Goodbye," said Bridget and Stephen, and they thanked Toby and his driver. "Peep, pip, peep," whistled Toby. "Come again soon." We will," cried the children, and they waved until Toby was out of sight. The months passed. Toby had few trucks to pull, and even fewer passengers travelled on his tram line. "This is our last day, Toby," said his driver sadly one morning. "The manager says that we must close the line." That day, everyone wanted the chance of a last ride with Toby and Henrietta. Henrietta had more passengers than she could manage. They rode in the trucks and crowded into the brake van. The guard didn't have enough tickets to go round. As they travelled along, the passengers joked and sang. "Goodbye, Toby," said the passengers afterwards. "We are very sorry that your line is closing down." "So am I," said Toby sadly. The last passenger left the station and Toby puffed slowly to his shed. "Nobody wants me," Toby thought, and he went unhappily to sleep. Next morning, the shed doors were flung open, and Toby woke with a start. His driver was waving a piece of paper. "Wake up, Toby," he shouted. "Listen to this. It's a letter from the stout gentleman." Toby listened and... but I mustn't tell you any more, or I shall spoil the next story.